This is Jack, and before we begin, let me be clear. This is not entertainment. What you're about to see is real, disturbing, and in many cases, still unsolved. I dig through the abandoned, the encrypted, the forbidden, to uncover what's been erased from official history. If you're here for comfort, you're on the wrong channel. But if you're ready to question reality itself, welcome. Tonight's case, it'll crawl under your skin. And stay there. Okay, everyone, find a moment to think about trees, about their quiet strength, their growth towards the sun, their roots anchored in the earth. In a forest, they stand tall, their direction determined by light, gravity, and the tilt of the earth on its axis. But what if a forest existed where the trees weren't guided by the sun or the poles? What if they were guided by something else entirely, leaning in a unified direction that pointed nowhere familiar? A silent, arboreal compass pointing into the unknown. We're talking about the trees that point nowhere, environmental disruption, and the terrifying signal buried beneath their roots. Finland, a country known for its vast forests, its pristine lakes, its deep connection to nature, and its sometimes harsh, unforgiving environment. In one specific, perhaps remote and less traversed, forest, a strange anomaly began to draw attention. Someone, a forester surveying timber, a scientist studying local ecosystems, a hiker venturing off the beaten path, noticed something profoundly unnatural about the trees in a localized area. Every tree trunk within a defined section of the forest, regardless of species, age, or size, appeared to be subtly, uniformly bent or leaning in the same direction. These weren't trees snapped by high winds or toppling over due to unstable ground. They had clearly grown that way, their trunks forming a gentle, consistent curve from the base upwards, all inclining towards the same point on the horizon. Initial investigation, led by researchers specializing in forestry, geography, and geophysics, Dr. Elias Thorne studying the force, Dr. Lena Petrova analyzing the ground, Ben Carter mapping the area, confirmed the phenomenon. Using compasses, GPS, and inclinometers, they measured the angle and direction of the lean for hundreds, then thousands of trees within the affected area. The lean was precise, consistent, a unified inclination across the entire forest section. The direction was measured with scientific accuracy, say, 37 degrees southwest, as per the prompt. Researchers compared this direction to every known point of reference: true north, magnetic north, which shifts, geographical landmarks, geological, fault lines, prevailing wind patterns, celestial bodies' paths. The direction matched nothing. It pointed to no known pole, no significant geographical feature, no discernible energy line mapped by conventional science. This was an undeniable environmental disruption, a natural compass failure on a scale that defied natural explanation. The mystery deepened. What force was pulling these trees? Was it affecting their growth directly? What was at the location they were pointing towards? The perceived focal point where lines projected from the tree's lean would converge. Was it a localized magnetic anomaly, a gravitational singularity? Something completely unknown, tied to the Earth's core, or a phenomenon beyond our current understanding of physics? Was it related to ancient theories of Earth energies, or a geomagnetic inversion localized to this spot? Researchers, guided by the consistent direction of the lean, projected the lines of inclination from multiple points across the forest, attempting to triangulate a potential source or focal point. The lines converged roughly on a specific spot. Within the forest, a seemingly unremarkable patch of ground. Driven by the hypothesis that the source of the force must be located there, they decided to excavate. Using geological tools, ground-penetrating radar, and eventually a small excavation team, they began digging downwards. 1 meter, 3 meters, 6 meters. At a depth of approximately 6 meters, about 20 feet, below the surface, they uncovered something strange, a layer of material unlike the surrounding soil and rock. It was metal, but unlike any known alloy or naturally occurring ore deposit. Its composition was anomalous, resistant to identification by conventional means, perhaps impossibly pure, or containing elements not found in the Earth's crust in that form. It was cold to the touch, incredibly dense, and emitted a faint, almost imperceptible hum or vibration. This was the buried source of the anomaly. Scientists, Dr. Lena Petrova, analyzing the strange metal's composition, Dr. Elias Thorne, analyzing its energy signatures, Ben Carter, analyzing its vibrations, set about studying the strange material. Its composition defied conventional metallurgy and chemistry. It was a physical anomaly. It seemed inert, emitting no significant heat or radiation, yet sensitive vibration measurement equipment placed on and around the metal layer detected something extraordinary. The metal wasn't just humming or vibrating randomly. It was emitting distinct, structured pulses, regular vibrations forming a pattern. When these pulses were analyzed and timed with extreme precision, they corresponded precisely to the dots and dashes of Morse code. And the signal was not random. It was repeating continuously, an endless loop of modulated vibrations emanating from the buried metal. The terrifying twist was delivered by the silent, pulsating metal unearthed from beneath the pointing trees. Decoding the repeating Morse code, signal revealed a short, chilling message. Not coordinates, not a name, not a warning in the conventional sense. The message, repeated over and over, was simply, "Question not asked." The twist: analysis of vibrations emanating from the strange metal layer buried 6 meters deep at the perceived focal point of the trees. That point nowhere reveals the metal emits repeating pulses, forming Morse code which translates to the message, "Question not asked," proving the metal is an active communicator linked to the environmental anomaly. The implication was profound and unsettling. The buried metal was not just a passive object causing a physical effect on the trees. It was an active object, potentially sentient or controlled by an unknown entity, that was intentionally causing the trees to lean as a form of communication, a silent, arboreal beacon pointing directly to its location. The leaning direction was significant, but it was merely the address. The true communication, the message itself, was the Morse code signal emanating from the metal layer below. The message, "Question not asked," was a direct communication, presumably aimed at whoever found the metal and understood its signal. It implied that the key to understanding or interacting with the anomaly, with the buried object and the force pulling the trees, was missing. A specific question needed to be asked, a question that humanity, in its scientific or historical understanding, didn't even know how to formulate. Until that question was asked, the anomaly in its true form remained cryptic, potentially inactive, or simply waiting. The source of the force pulling the trees was the strange metal, broadcasting its influence outwards, perhaps a unique magnetic field it generated, a manipulation of local gravity or something beyond our current understanding of physics. The specific leaning direction, matching no known pole, could be related to the metal's influence on local geomagnetism, creating a localized inverted field pointing not north or south, but towards itself, or perhaps pointing to a pole in another dimension or timeline. The environmental manipulation of the trees was not random. It was a deliberate act, a form of communication orchestrated by the buried object to guide someone to its location, using nature itself as a form of signal flag. The unknowing remained vast. What is the metal? Who buried it? Was it left behind by an ancient civilization, an alien entity, or is it an entity itself? What is the question it refers to? What happens if the question is asked? What happens if the wrong question is asked? The entity. Is the metal an entity? Is it a device left by an entity? One tied to the Earth's deep structure, geomagnetism, communication, puzzles, knowledge, or perhaps the very concept of questions and answers. The Earth, the voice, Morse code message, the unknowing, the stranger, uncanny metal, the machine. Signal code, measurement tech, the distortion, nature warped, the buried. The Magnus Archives horror was deeply environmental, geological, and cognitive. A natural environment forest, acting in an uncanny, deliberate, and unsettling way, its very form distorted by an unknown force, its trees pointing nowhere, making the forest feel wrong and potentially dangerous, a place where nature is not your ally, the earth, the distortion. A strange, buried metal object defying known science, linked to deep earth forces, geomagnetism, emitting a structured signal, suggests something alien, ancient, or malevolent buried within the planet, affecting the surface world, the earth, the buried. The unknowing mechanism and ultimate purpose remain profoundly unsettling. What is the metal? What is the force? What is the question? What happens if you ask it? What happens if you don't? The unknowing. The voice auditory horror of a silent, buried object broadcasting a repeating cryptic message in Morse code suggests a trapped or hidden intelligence trying to communicate. Its words a chilling puzzle. The voice, the machine, signal. The psychological horror of the disorientation caused by the wrong-leaning trees. The feeling of being pulled or pointed at by nature. The puzzle of the message. The fear of asking the wrong thing. The weight of an unasked question. The mind's eye. The uncanny, unnatural behavior of the trees and the alien nature of the buried metal and its message adds a layer of strangeness that defies easy categorization. The stranger. The burden on researchers, now burdened with the knowledge of a buried intelligence communicating via a distorted forest, presenting a puzzle they must solve with unknown consequences, is immense. The burden. The environmental disruption was a signal. The natural compass failure pointed to a buried entity. The geomagnetic inversion was orchestrated by a voice. The researchers, Dr. Sharma, Ben Carter, Dr. Thorne, Professor Volkov, Dr. Petrova, the living sender of the letter. The architect, the divers, the man who never aged, the children whose drawings hold code, the individuals who heard the broadcast, and the clandestine team are left with the horrifying reality of a Finnish forest where trees point nowhere, a beacon for a buried object that is actively communicating, posing a puzzle that might unlock a terrifying secret about the earth, or something within it. The investigation continues under intense secrecy. They are intensely monitoring the metal in the forest, analyzing the metal further. Can its origin be determined? Is it consuming energy? How does it emit vibrations without a power source? Research into the specific history and folklore of the forest. Any legends of strange occurrences, lights, sounds, or unusual geological events? Any connection to ancient rituals or beliefs about the earth, linking to the earth, the city that hums, the bell that rang underground, the cave that whispers back, the lake that refuses to freeze? The terrifying debate centers on the meaning of question not asked and how to interact. Is it a riddle? A specific query in a forgotten language? How do they formulate the correct question? What happens if they ask the wrong question? Does it anger the entity? Does it cause a catastrophe? What happens if they try to communicate back via Morse code? What will they say? What happens if the metal starts emitting a different message, or the trees start pointing somewhere else? What happens if they try to remove or destroy the metal? Would it stop the anomaly, or unleash something trapped within it. The fear is that they have awakened or found something that wanted to be found, but for a purpose they don't understand, and that the question is the key not just to understanding the anomaly, but to unleashing its true nature upon the world. The trees that point nowhere are real. It is a forest in Finland where all tree trunks uniformly lean in a specific direction, 37 degrees southwest, that points to no known magnetic or geographical pole or landmark caused by an unknown force. Excavation at the perceived focal point reveals a layer of strange metal buried 6 meters deep. The twist reveals the metal emits repeating vibration pulses forming Morse code, which translates to the message, "Question not asked," while proving the metal is an active communicator linked to the environmental anomaly. The Magnus Archives horror remains a chilling undercurrent, amplified by the uncanny distortion of nature, the geological secret, and the cryptic message. The pervasive sense of dread that comes with knowing that a forest is being manipulated by a buried object that wants to be found, and that it's waiting for humanity to ask a specific question to unlock its secret. What is the question? What happens when it's asked? Sleep well. And next time you walk in a forest, look closely at the trees. Remember the forest in Finland. Remember the leaning trunks. Remember the direction that points nowhere. Remember the buried metal. Remember the Morse code. Remember question not asked. Remember that some puzzles are not meant to be solved, and some questions are not meant to be asked. What happens when the question is asked and the answer is terrifying? What happens if the question is about you? This story was just a glimpse into the strange realities I explore. There are countless other mysteries out there waiting to be revealed, and I'm dedicated to finding them. But with the kind of topics we cover, sometimes you just can't predict what the future holds. So, to guarantee you're always in the loop, to make sure you catch every unsettling discovery I bring to you, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell. Don't risk missing out. You might not get another chance.